Hey there, this is Andy Bacon with the Bacon Group, and this is going to be video number 2 of the Structuring Offers series, if you will. This is what we did is we did a seminar here some time back, a big live seminar, where we talked about how to solve homeowner problems and structure offers, something alternative to just a cash offer. Not every deal fits a cash offer, and especially for those newer investors, because unfortunately that's really the only tool they have is making offers on properties all cash. So we're going to show, I think we're going to show 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9 deals that we did for this seminar, and we're going to show how the lead came in, how we structured the deal, what the problems were that we had to solve, and what the profits were. And I can tell you now, the profits go anywhere from $10,000 to $262,000 on these deals. And that sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. But it's crazy where this business can take you. Anyway, if you just found us right now and you're on video 2, I suggest you go back and find video 1 and go through the entire series. Okay, so I'm going to flip through this PowerPoint to get to where we're going to start with the second deal. Okay. Let's see where we're at. Okay, and this happens to be this one. ILC are subject to 14,000 Alton. Okay. So first of all, the lead came in as a bird dog. It was a referral lead that came into us. And here are the details that came in from the bird dog in the very first conversation. The property had an ARV, or an after repaired value, of $400 to $425. There was an outstanding loan amount of $260,000 on the property. The repair cost for a fix and flip was somewhere between $50,000 to $60,000. That was the assumption, in order to reach that after repaired value of $400 to $425. Okay, there are tenants in the property, and the tenants in the property are friends of the owner of the property, and the owner of the property lives out of state. It's also a property that is in foreclosure, which is how the bird dog found it in the first place. I think searching foreclosure records online for free. But so they caught the seller and managed to get a phone call back, and now we find out it is 2.5 weeks before the auction. Okay, and the cure amount is $26,000. All right, so ARV 4 to 4.25, outstanding loan 260, repair 50 to 60, tenants in property, 2.5 weeks before an auction, with a cure amount of $26,000. Okay, first of all, the cure amount, or in some states the reinstatement amount, is the amount of money necessary to bring a foreclosing loan current. Okay, and if you cure or reinstate the loan, the pending foreclosure proceedings stop, and you're now back on the loan payment. In some states where they talk about a reinstatement, sometimes you'll reinstate the loan, the foreclosure proceeding stops, and you're given almost maybe a 1 or 2 month probation period to make sure that you can make those payments. If your payments are timely, then they completely stop the entire proceedings and tear up paperwork. In a cure state like Colorado, which is where this deal was, the whole process just stops and you're back in good graces with everybody. Okay, other than obviously your credit score is taking a fairly major hit because you missed payments, and we're headed down to foreclosure. Also, I want to point out that even though there's 2.5 weeks before the auction, in Colorado, you have to sign a letter and then file the letter prior to the 2-week period before the auction, letting them know you're going to cure it. Okay, so in this case, this one was actually kind of funky. We actually had the bird dog hop on a motorcycle. It's a long story. Ended up going from Denver to Albuquerque, New Mexico on a motorcycle, having the person sign the document, turning around, driving back to Denver, and filing the next morning so we could save the deal. So in other words, because the profit on this deal was split 50-50, that bird dog had a $7,000 round trip on a motorcycle in short order. Okay. All right, so we went to the cure. There's the cure amount again. This is what a cash offer scenario would have looked like on this deal. Okay, so let's see if we can get over here. All right. So this is a mortgage calculator that we happen to use in our office. It's pretty handy. It works pretty nice for what we're doing. Okay, but we're talking about a deal or no deal for cash offers. So we are right here, deal or no deal. Okay, so remember we said that the ARV was about 400 to 425. So I'm going to plug in 425. So the asking price is going to be the price advertised after they fix up the property. When I say they, understand I'm a wholesaler. So this is a wholesale deal. So my asking price is going to be $305,000. So where did I come up with that? We understand there was an outstanding balance of $260,000 on the loan. There's an additional $26,000 in to cure the loan. There's $14,000 that we are looking for our wholesale fee. How did I come up with the $14,000? We just threw a dart. I usually chase $7,000 on any deal as my minimum for my business, and because we're splitting it 50-50, I had to double my wholesale fee. So that's where the 14 came from. I know it's really rocket science there, isn't it? And then because the tenants are such good friends, and we're going to, they're going to have to leave, and it's going to be a lousy situation. What if we gave the tenants $5,000 to help them move out and kind of smooth some of this over? Okay, so the 305 came from the 260 left on the mortgage, 26 on the cure, 14,000 for the wholesale fee, and 5,000 for to give to the tenants. Okay, repair cost we said between 50 and 60, so let's just pick 55. The selling cost. We're using 6% as a blanket statement on our calculator. The selling costs involved are going to be a listing agent, 2.83%, somewhere in there. A selling agent, 2.83%, somewhere in there. And then closing costs and inspection fees and things like this, which is usually 1-2%, something like that, depending on what kind of deal it is. So these, if you're a realtor yourself, and you're brand new, that selling cost ranges anywhere from say 4 to 8%. So we use 6% as a median price, and that is to sell the property when it's all fixed up. Okay, holding costs. Holding costs. So the holding costs, the way we look at a property, the holding costs, most people know holding costs as gas, electric, water, garbage, lawn mowing, snow removal. You're under construction, so you know you're going to be giving up some Starbucks cards to the neighbors and some fruit baskets, things like that. So those are your typical holding costs. We also put the cost of the money in there. And the reason we put it there is because if I fix and flip something in 4 months versus 6 months, the holding cost on my money actually goes down. So we think the cost of money is a monthly process. So that's where we put it in holding costs. And so why do I have $25,000 in there for holding costs? And I'll show you. Okay, so the cost of the loan. Okay. Let's say that my seller, who I don't know who it is at this point, let's say their plan is to borrow $305,000 to buy it, and they're going to use $55,000 of their own money to repair it. Okay, so they're going to take out a loan for $305,000, and let's say they have a hard money loan at 3 points and say 14% interest. Okay, just the cost of that money for a 6-month period is going to cost them $30,500. So my total holding cost down here might be say $34,000 for 6 months. Remember? Typical holding cost plus the money. Okay, so potential profit on this deal for the person I sold it to is $5,500. Obviously, that doesn't work. Okay, no one's going to try and do this deal for a profit of $5,500. So let's say somebody has a better loan. It's 2 points and say 10%. It's $21,000 for the 6 months. So maybe the holding cost is only $25,000. Okay. No one's going to do this deal for $14,500 profit. And understand, when you do fix and flips, your profit potential is really your only safety net. as things start to not go exactly according to plan, this profit starts going backwards on you. So you need to have a healthy margin in there. So let's say, let's see what it looks like for someone who's a brand new investor and they want this property. And they call me and say, listen, I love your deal, Andy. I'd like to buy it. Okay, how are you going to pay for it? Well, I'm going to borrow all the money from a hard money lender. Okay, what's the hard money lender got? Okay, it's a lender in town, and they'll loan me 100% of everything I need for 4 points and 14%. Okay, let's see what this looks like. You need 305 plus 55, so you need $360,000. And I think you said that they were going to charge you 4 points and 14%. Okay, so that's $39,600. So maybe your holding cost, Mr. New Investor, is, I don't know, $43,000, let's say, for a second. So if you were to do this, Mr. and Mrs. Investor, you'd be losing $3,500 if everything goes according to plan. Okay, so first of all, that's how you work the cost of the loan. It's pretty important to put that in. Okay, so let's shift gears for a second. Let's say, whatever, let me just see what my maximum allowable offer should be. Okay, in other words, if you're negotiating a deal with the seller, sometimes you can do a preemptive. So in other words, deal or no deal, we use it as something's being offered to me. If I have to go negotiate, this is how I look at it down here. So I think the ARV is $425. I think the repair cost is $55. The selling cost stays the same. It's still roughly 4 to 8% of this number. And because of the price tag on this and the repair cost and the time and effort, let's say I'm chasing $40,000 in profit. Let's say $35,000 in profit. Okay, my holding costs, because of who I am, let's say it's I'm going to borrow the $305,000, and I have a 1 point and 10% private money type of a situation, cheaper money. So my holding cost might be, I don't know, $23,000. Okay, 70% formula. What that 70% formula mean, let's get it up here. This is a common formula that most investors use, especially the newer investors. It's basically the ARV times 70% minus the repair cost equals your maximum allowable offer, or MAO, okay? So, $425 times 70% minus $55,000 means I can offer $242,500. Okay, it's not going to work, is it? Because they already owe $260, and they're going into foreclosure in 2.5 weeks. So there's no way they're going to do this. Their credit's already shot. There's nothing for them to save. All right. Another way to look at it would be ARV minus repair minus the selling minus the holding minus the profit equals a MAO of $286,500. Okay, it still doesn't work, even dissecting the little pieces. There's an outstanding balance of $260 plus a $26,000 cure. It doesn't look like there's any room for profit, my wholesale fee, or anything else. So obviously the way we look at this is there is no cash offer scenario for this particular deal that makes any sense whatsoever. Okay, so we move on. What happens if we were to do owner financing? You've heard of owner financing. These are what we call the terms. This is what we're calling the negotiations on something other than cash offers. So what if I bought it subject to, or I bought it with wraparound, an all-inclusive deed trust, all-inclusive deed or trust deed, sorry. A subject to, you get the deed, you get the tax benefits, and for the seller who sold you the property, if you turn out to be a flake or a knucklehead, they would have to sue you. It would be a real big mess trying to get the property back from you. On a wraparound, you get the deed, you get all the tax benefits. Unlike the subject to, though, if it turned into a mess and the person wanted their property back, they could actually foreclose on you. On a contract for deed, or an ILC, an installment land contract, which is, we do a lot of these, the buyer doesn't get the deed, but we do get the tax benefits, and if I turn into a knucklehead, that they can evict me. Okay, obviously these are easier to get. In other words, it's a reverse pecking order. It's easier to do the lease option. It's easier to do a contract for deed. It's easier to do a wraparound, and the hardest is the subject to. Okay, that's not what this slide is all about. I just want to kind of cover those buzzwords real quick. Let's get some details from the seller again. So, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we can't offer you cash, and here's why. And we explain to them why not. All right, we're very open and honest because it doesn't work. It's not going to work for anybody. They can keep trying, but no one's going to come and pay cash for that property usually. Okay, so we start asking more detailed questions like about the loan. What's the existing loan look like? What we might be able to do is maybe pay some people, pay you, pay your tenants, play nice, and take over your payments. So they've got a 30-year fixed loan at 3.62% interest. They have principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, PITI, a payment of $17.75 per month. We know if we were to fix it up for about $15,000, we could probably rent it. Okay, the foreclosure sale is 17 days away. The cure amount's still $26,000. We look at the rentals for that area. It's a nice area. We could rent it for $3,000 a month, and we still have the tenants who need time to move. And we still think to make some kind of a deal go, we probably have to give them some money to move. One more time. Here's what we've got. We've got $17.75 PITI. We've got $26,000 to cure the loan, 1 to 2 months to move out. We think the renters probably $5,000 would help them a lot. Fix up the property for $15,000 and rent it for $3,000, and we still want our wholesale fee. I'm going to go back here and write down the interest rate for a moment. 3.62, okay. So let's see what this looks like. We know that their monthly payment was $17.75, and I have to be honest, what I did here is I just faked these numbers in using the interest rate that we knew as a fact, and kind of came up with a $17.75 because that's their monthly payment. So our guess is maybe it looks like this because I don't really recall when they bought the property or when they refinanced it to get their current loan. But this all matches up. And I know of 2015 when we closed this deal. And so if I were to come back out here and say, okay, 6 years from this date, here's what the payoff looks like. If I back it off and say, okay, 5.75, that puts me towards the beginning of 15. Outstanding balance was almost $260, and that's where we're at. So I just kind of faked in this scenario to match what was really happening, so you can see kind of what it looks like. Okay, there's the bottom line though, $17.75. That's what we're going to take over. That's what's really, really important, is just that, and also to make sure, obviously, that that interest rate is a fixed loan and not bouncing around. Okay, so then we come over here, cash on cash return. So if we rented it out for $3,000 a month, and remember, I'm a wholesaler, I'm selling it to somebody. If my buyer, how much money do they have out of pocket in the scenario that I'm thinking? Well, I think they've got $26,000 to cure the loan. They have $14,000 for my wholesale fee. They have $5,000 for the renters that we still think we need to take care of. And they have $15,000 for the fix-up cost to get it rentable. So that's a $60,000 out of pocket. That is a cash-on-cash return of 24.5%. Okay, so that's how we look at these scenarios. We go, okay, fine, there's no cash offer, but this is so rock solid, it's ridiculous. So we got it under contract, and we presented it to our buyers list in this manner, and our phone rang off the hook. It rang off the hook with people who understood this. So it really rang off the hook with a lot of experienced investors who say, listen, for 60 grand, I don't have to qualify for a loan. I am all in, okay? So let's talk about some benefits, what this thing kind of looks like. Okay, so here's the benefit to the seller that we did the deal with. Their rental headache was gone. Their tenants received $5,000. The loan was cured. And once we cured the loan, the seller's loan, because the loan is still in their name, is now performing and actually improving the credit score over time of the seller. The seller did not have to shell out any money, didn't have to go to Colorado, and didn't have to make any improvements. The purchase price of $260, which is what we did the deal with, depending on when the loan gets paid off by the future buyer, the seller could actually make some money. And if you don't understand that, let me see this. So let's say 10 years go by, or actually 5.75, 6, 7, 8. Let's say you buy this in 3 more years. So this is the existing situation, and 3 years later you buy it, which is going to be 8.75, right? Okay, the outstanding balance on that loan is 228. Remember, I'm buying it for 260. So the seller just made $30,000 in a deal that looked pretty horrible moments ago. All right. So that's what that means when you said the seller could actually make some money. It depends on when we finally buy the deal. What's the benefits to my buyer? I'm the wholesaler. They purchased the property for $45,000 plus the loan balance and had instant equity. Understand, this is probably 60 because they had to repair it. They purchased a property without having to qualify for a new loan. In other words, these are great deals. Okay, instead of buying the property for $305 plus the $50 for the rehab, the initial cash outlay was from the buyer is $45. Cure, renter's wholesale fee. Understand it. There's a $15,000 also for the fix-up. The buyer has two options. They can continue with a fix and flip at a much lower risk because they don't have to bring the initial $260 to the table, right? Or they can keep it as a rental with approximately 24% ROI. It's a good deal all the way around, and we sold this in like the second phone call of many phone calls that when we push it out to our buyers list. Okay, so anyway, that concludes, I believe, yes, that concludes our second video. I know it's long-winded. It's a little complicated, not too much, but I just wanted to show you how to look at properties. If it doesn't work for a cash offer, start playing with a calculator, start playing with some numbers somehow, some way, and see what, some what-if scenarios on taking over an existing loan. All right? Good luck to all of you, and we'll catch you on the next one.